Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. So today's video is going to be some book reviews on some NetGalley audiobooks that I was able to review early. So we're going to be looking at Padawan by Kirsten White and Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shay Earnshaw. So when I first heard about NetGalley, I thought NetGalley was like the coolest thing that you can get books early to review. And I tried to do it, but I got approved for one and I didn't realize they were ebooks, and I thought that'll be fine, I can totally do that. And I've come to the realization that ebooks just are not for me. And there's nothing wrong with them. I think they're a great invention. I think if you can get a Kindle and put your entire library on that instead of doing this, I think that's amazing, and I think it makes sense and it's super convenient and great. I just will not read them. I've tried, I tried to read it and I just can't. I can't get into it. I won't sit down and do it. It doesn't hold my attention. I don't know what my issue is, but I just can't read ebooks. I don't like doing it. And so I kind of thought that was it for me in NetGalley. And then I saw that they announced that they were gonna start doing audiobooks, and I signed up for an email notification for when that happened. I got the email notification, I started scrolling through them and requested some, and I got approved for these two, and I was really excited because one of them is an anticipated release of mine, and I was really excited to read it because I love Nightmare Before Christmas, and the other one, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and so I was like, if I have the chance to review a Star Wars book early, I'll do it. And so today I'm just going to give you my thoughts on those books. They are new releases or they haven't been released yet, and I will let you know that as we get to the book. So the first one I'm going to talk about today is Padawan by Kirsten White. I've never read any of this author's works. I believe she wrote The Guinevere Deception, which I have, but I haven't read yet. And she wrote this book, Padawan, and this is following Obi-Wan as a Padawan. And if you don't know what that is in the Star Wars universe, basically that is when you are in training to become a Jedi Knight. So you're assigned a Jedi Master and they are training you, and then when they feel you're ready, you can take the trials and become a Jedi Knight. And so this is going back in time to when Obi-Wan was Padawan to Qui-Gon Jinn, towards the beginning where he's still learning and kind of insecure and doesn't know what to do. And he kind of goes off on his own mission and learns some lessons along the way. This was a really fun book. I really enjoyed it. Usually with Star Wars books, I very much gravitate towards Anakin and Vader stuff. Anything to do with them and like dark side. Even though I love the Star Wars universe as a whole, that's just usually the kind of books that I gravitate towards. Or stuff about like Padme. So that's kind of usually my vibe, but I was really curious about this when I saw that it was available, and I just decided to go ahead and pick it up. The first Star Wars book I ever listened to on audiobook was the Ahsoka book, which I talked about on my channel previously, and Star Wars audiobooks are just amazing. They're top tier. There's sound effects, the voice actors are fantastic, there's little like droid noises, it's just so good. There's like musical scores sometimes behind it, like if it gets a really tense moment or a really cute moment, and I love it. I think the audiobooks are so well done. So like I said, this book was a lot of fun. It was really cool to see Obi-Wan in this stage of his life as a Padawan and, struggling with figuring out how to use the Force and meditation and figuring out how to connect to the Force and feeling really inadequate as a Padawan and feeling like he's letting his master down. All the while knowing the extremely powerful Jedi he's going to become in the future, which is really cool to see. I also loved that they kind of addressed that Padawans are teenagers and they think about teenager things. So I love how like kissing is brought up and they're like, have you ever kissed anyone? And he's like, no. And attachment is forbidden, so I can't think about kissing somebody, but I think about kissing somebody and I wonder what it would be like. And I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think I'll ever find somebody, but also I can't find somebody. And I feel like that's exactly what a teenager in this situation would think, because in the Jedi Order, attachment is forbidden. You're not allowed to have relationships or things like that. But that doesn't stop teenagers from thinking about it. And so I loved that they kind of highlighted that this is a thing that happens and it's not just like completely ignored and never talked about or never thought of by any of them. I just thought that was a really nice touch, especially when you know a lot about the Star Wars universe and how all of that works. It's just cool to see some humanity brought back into the Jedi. And also kind of funny and cute when you think about the Clone Wars, if you know what I'm talking about. It was definitely very YA in tone, but I think it makes absolute sense for the life stage that Obi-Wan is in, the content of what's happening, and the reason you're reading this is because he's a teenager Padawan. So it made so much sense to write it that way for the stage of life that he was in, and I think it was executed really well. It was also a lot of fun and really cool to see little like nods or homages to future or other Star Wars stories, like the Clone Wars, and kind of hinting like, I will never like someone, or my Padawan will never be as reckless as I am. and then other characters that are brought into the story that you see for like little tiny snippets in the Star Wars films, but then they're kind of gone. It was cool to see pieces of them brought in, and the way that they kind of bring in Qui-Gon Jinn and how he kind of does not always get along with the Jedi Order and the Council, and so I loved how all of those pieces were brought into it, and I thought this book was really good. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars, and I would absolutely recommend you read it if you love Obi-Wan or if you just love reading Jedi or Star Wars books in general and the Star Wars universe. Other book that I was able to review that I mentioned previously was Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shea Ernshaw. This was one of my most anticipated releases because I absolutely love The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's my favorite movie. I watch it at least once a year, if not twice a year. And when I saw that they were writing a book from Sally's perspective and kind of continuing her story, I was pumped. And I wasn't disappointed, so I really liked this book. I won't say it was my favorite book of all time or anything, but it was a lot of fun and I really liked it. It was really cool to see Sally's own story. So basically you're picking up essentially soon after the events of Nightmare Before Christmas. So at the end of Nightmare Before Christmas, if you haven't seen it, Jack and Sally get together. I believe this is picking up 6 months after the events of Nightmare Before Christmas, and they're getting married. That's the very beginning of the book, so it's not a spoiler. They're getting married, and then she's kind of figuring out that she's gonna be the Pumpkin Queen, and this is just kind of just occurring to her, like she knew in her mind she'd be the Pumpkin Queen because she's marrying Jack, but all she was focused on was the future with Jack and not necessarily what that meant for her and her life and becoming the Pumpkin Queen. And so she kind of has this little bit of existential crisis of feeling like an imposter syndrome and being like, I want to be who I used to be. I don't want to have these expectations on me. I don't want to change who I am. I'm still me. And so she kind of freaks out a little bit and goes on a walk in the woods and then finds another door to Dreamtown. And then some chaos may ensue from there. So I thought the story was a lot of fun. It was really cool to see more of Sally's story and her inner thoughts about how she feels about being the Pumpkin Queen and how when she was in The Night Before Christmas, she was Dr. Finkelstein's kind of creation. So she was trapped there. He didn't really let her do anything. And then she goes from that to feeling like she had a moment of bliss of being with Jack, and now she's kind of trapped into this queenly position. So it's really cool how she kind of is able to explore her own story and find herself like Jack found himself in The Nightmare Before Christmas, and having her own personal crisis and working through that. I absolutely loved getting to see the other holiday towns. If it wasn't a lot, it was at least pieces of them, and you get to see pretty much all of them, which I really liked because that's something when you're watching The Night Before Christmas. I love that movie so much, but you're also like, I wonder what it would be like if he went through all of the other doors. What if there was a movie about every other door he went through? And so it was cool to see little snippets of that, even though it's not a movie. It was cool to be able to see the little pieces of the different holiday towns. And then this mysterious other kind of ancient towns of Dreamland, and others are mentioned, but you just get to see Dreamland. There is a villain in this story that is kind of like unleashed because of some events that happen in the story. And let me tell you, there were parts of this that were really, really creepy, and I was not expecting that. Because like, if you've watched The Night Before Christmas, I'm sure that's really creepy to some people. It's not creepy to me. I think it's really fun, funny, and cute. But there are some scenes in this book where I was kind of creeped out. I was like, this is kind of creepy. Not gonna lie. Where she's like trying to hide from him and he's like lurking around and it's really slow and he's trying to find her. It was kind of creepy. You also kind of get a little bit of Sally's origin and background story, which I really enjoyed because that was really cool. And I liked being able to figure out where she came from and it not just being like, boop, there she is. So overall, I thought this book was really good. It was a really fun adventure, and I think you'll really enjoy it and find it a lot of fun, especially if you love The Night Before Christmas, because it's just kind of expanding upon that and giving you some more things to go off of. So I think if you like Nightmare Before Christmas, you would love this book. It was really nostalgic and fun and just kind of made me happy. And I did end up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I just wanted to give you my thoughts on these books. Padawan comes out July 26th, and Long Live the Pumpkin Queen comes out August 2nd. So I was really happy I got to review these. Thank you so much, NetGalley, for approving me for these audiobooks. I had such a good time doing this. And maybe you guys will be able to hear my thoughts on this and hopefully find some interest in checking these books out. All right, everyone, well, that is it for today's video. Please comment down below if you're interested in reading any of these books, and just let me know your thoughts. So please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.